So, this year, it's the 20th anniversary of PlayStation,
Yay.
which is kind of pretty crazy. So, how old were you when PlayStation came out?
I would have been 5.
Oh my god.
I was 5 when the PlayStation came out.
I was working in the games industry.
I was 16.
There you go.
Were you?
So it puts us in 3 different places.
Yeah, 3 different generations.
How old are you?
36.
Okay, so
You
there's
can
5
work it.
years difference. Right, okay. So I was 21 when PlayStation came out.
Yeah.
And obviously, you know, the whole thing of it is that PlayStation is celebrating it. They've released, or they're going to release, a special edition
Which I want so
PlayStation
badly.
4. So, if you haven't seen it, it's the PlayStation 4. It's in the original PlayStation Grey, which I don't think looks very sexy anymore.
The top is kind of shiny though, like the bit at the top, it's so like that bit's kind of shiny. It looks quite nice. They've also released a theme today as well for it.
Right.
So
I haven't seen that yet.
So the theme is quite boring, but we'll come to that.
But you get, so the PlayStation logo, the coloured PS logo is on the front. There's a little thing down the bottom saying that, you know, this costs you lots of money. It'll be worth more in a few years'
yes,
time.
there's 12,300 made because it was originally released.
So weird.
Apparently because there was originally, it was released on the 3rd, well, the 3rd of the 12th.
Yeah.
So 12,300
Right.
is the thing. But that's worldwide. They haven't announced how you can get it yet.
Yeah.
That's coming on Saturday at the PlayStation Experience. They're going to be like,
Oh, of course. Yeah.
they're going to announce how you can get hold of it.
So, and then the other thing, like the controller itself, where the touchpad is, you've got the little kind of X, triangle, square, circle thing as the pattern on the top, which is, again, a nice touch.
Cool.
But I don't particularly like it.
I really like it. But
Have you seen it, Chris?
No.
No.
I'm imagining it.
It's one of those things where, because I saw a shot of it alongside the original PlayStation, I was like, I prefer the original PlayStation. Because that is a design of its time and a colour of its time, whereas this, you've got a modern design, but with a horrible colour. It'd be like having an Xbox One in the same colour as an Amiga, so that kind of off-white, kind of cream
Beige.
colour.
Yeah, I don't really get it.
No.
I think it's just kind of, you know, for nostalgia's sake. But the theme...
Do you remember when PCs were all beige?
Yeah.
Oh, that's weird, isn't
We had
it?
a Packard Bell. But there was a theme. It's just a grey background, and so that's not exciting. But the big thing is, it's the chime, that startup chime. It has that when you boot up the console. So it's the... I can't do it, but it's the chime, you know, the PlayStation startup chime.
I can't remember how it went, because...
Brom kind of thing.
Sega.
Because I do remember, like, when PS2 came out, I went over to Namco Bandai's offices, or it was just Namco at the time, because they were working on whichever Ridge Racer game. And they got one of the first PS2s in the office. And we went over to see it, and all it did was switch on and play the kind of noise. And
Is that the PS3?
Oh, I can't remember.
And then the PS2 is just like, woo, and there's loads
But
of
anyway,
dust.
all we did was sit there, turn it on and off for about 15 minutes and go, right, it's our
job
first
done.
experience. Like, the blue light was nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
Weird.
Awesome.
I know. Well, that was my job. It still is. So anyway, obviously, yeah, big thing at the minute is talking about your favourite moments and memories from PlayStation. Now, I've got a lot, so I can go first.
Okay.
You can talk about yours. Let me talk about mine. Now, first things first. You might remember this. You probably won't.
Okay.
But when it first came out, their advertising campaign was called SAPS, Society Against PlayStation.
I do remember.
it?
Yeah.
And it was kind of like a kind of public health warning about, you know, how playing games was too addictive and PlayStation, you shouldn't play it. And I've got the YouTube, and I'm going to play it, a segment of it briefly, and I'll try and hold it near to the mic so you can hear some of it.
Hello, citizens of Europe. As spokesperson for SAPS, the Society Against PlayStation, I'd like to talk to you about a menace threatening humanity. It's happening right here, in our very homes, and corrupting the lives of our loved ones. Yes, friends, I'm talking about this. It may look like a harmless bagel toaster, but inside is a deadly donut. How do you know PlayStation is not a normal game system? It carries these telltale signs. Scientists say its effects are mind-boggling. Users lose all sense of reality and enter another world. Here we have a norm.
Anyway, so that's the kind of advert. So interesting. Sorry, one thing that I saw on that advert, $299 for the console.
Yeah.
Which is pretty much standard for consoles these days. Obviously, Xbox was more expensive, but 45 quid for a game. So game prices haven't really changed that much, considering that was 20 years ago. Like, if you take into account inflation, that's insane.
I feel like, though, they soon came down to £30.
But that's yeah. It's the same. Like, when Blu-rays first came out, they were like mega expensive, and now it's the same in any HMV sale. But so that was one of the kind of first things that I remembered. Like, compared to like Nintendo and Sega, who were very straight and playing, used to playing the kind of gamers game. This was like a new company doing something completely different, and it was like lifestyle and edgy, and that kind of echoed across the games, because obviously Wipeout was one of their big things.
God, so much coming back.
And then, because I can't remember, Orbital and all the kind of people that did the soundtrack for it. Designers Republic did all the design. It was just like, this is cool shit.
Yeah.
So there was that, and then also Black CDs. I remember losing my shit at Black CDs. Do you not like Black CDs?
Yeah. No.
I like Black CDs. I miss Black CDs.
Yeah, I'm getting that. I'm getting that vibe.
I didn't believe you when you first said it, but now it's starting to...
But some of the other things, so like from the inside of the industry, because that's where I was. So Phil Harrison was heading up PlayStation in the UK at the time. He's now obviously doing Xbox. But I went in to interview him, and he was talking about, obviously Nintendo had Mario, Sega had Sonic, and it was before Sony had a mascot, and he was talking about this brand new game coming up from Naughty Dog, and it was going to blow our minds. And it was Crash Bandicoot. And I know people love Crash Bandicoot.
That's top of my list.
Whisper his name in the same sentence as Mario, I think, is doing Mario a huge disservice.
Okay, fair point.
I think he's more a competitor to Sonic than he is to Mario.
Yeah. A poor man's Mario, the pair of them. So probably going to be quite a few people listening to this podcast who don't agree with me.
Neither Luke nor I said that.
Yeah, exactly. I defend Crash.
And then the other thing he did, so it was just around the same time, I don't know, PlayStation had been out 6 months, is he showed me the prototype of the PlayStation. And it basically looked like an inkjet printer. It was this huge thing. Like, you imagine it to be kind of what it would look like, but it wasn't. It was, literally like a massive box with bits sticking out of it. And that's how the PlayStation was born.
Wow. So you were there at the start. You were there at the birth.
Well, I started on issue 2 of PlayStation Plus.
Right.
Because I was working on a PC mag at the time. And then I'm never really a PC person. So I moved from that to PlayStation.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was there for the birth of Lara Croft, quite literally.
Pleasant time.
It's a weird game.
Other cool stuff, pen trick. Does anybody remember the pen trick? If you were trying to play import games, when you turn your PlayStation and it comes up with a logo, whichever noise it is, because I can't remember, you pop open the thing, because basically that is it saying, right, you are loading a UK game, so you put UK game, load it, quickly open it, stick a pen in, so it's holding down the bit at the back that thinks the disc lid is down, and then you put your import copy in.
Wow. That's how I don't think I knew that.
Really?
Oh.
Look at this.
And then everything, having to hold it on its side because it was overheated all the time, and oh man, all these old tricks.
There you go. Who needs to get it chipped?
But then games, Metal Gear would be nothing without PlayStation, for me anyway.
Yep.
And then Pro Evo, like we used to play. I was working on CVG,
the one, didn't it?
and it was called Pro Evolution Soccer Winning 11 something or other. But because it had no licensees, there was a massive underground kind of movement where people would create all the official kits. So it was the time when Arsenal was sponsored by O2. And they'd basically gone through and created all the right characters, all the right kits, and all you had to do is download the thing onto the old PlayStation memory cards, and you had a fully official kind of Pro Evo, which at the time was better than FIFA. So they don't make them like they used to. Do you have any PlayStation memories?
I think football games, the football games, just all through those early years, certainly when I was at school, when I was at uni.
You always talk about Emlyn Hughes.
No, I'm talking about PlayStation. Okay. Emlyn Hughes was way before that. Primary school when I was Emlyn Hughesing, I think.
Right.
But yeah, I just remember spending hours and hours at uni with my friends playing PlayStation football.
Yeah.
Playing a football game on PlayStation.
Right, okay, yeah.
And I think that was the first time that was happening, though, because obviously it was the console that kind of moved into the living room from the bedroom.
Yeah.
And so I was there, 2 years after it came out, when sort of everyone was getting it. Was my first year at uni, so everyone had one in their room at uni. Whereas I don't think before then people brought consoles with them to uni as much, because also you could, watch DVDs and listen to CDs or whatever. So that's a real memory. Is just having all my mates.
You couldn't watch DVDs.
That's couldn't watch. So that's PlayStation 2.
Yeah.
But I remember though, like it was amazing that I could put a CD in there, and then I could play the CD through my telly, and it would have those weird pictures on screen. That seemed like trippy. Way in the future.
Yeah,
it's funny.
It was 20 years ago, though.
But just that seems so sort of dated now, but
but it is interesting because obviously at the time, like when like mainstream whatever would refer to video gaming, it'd be like, I'm going to go and play my Nintendo, even if it wasn't Nintendo. It very quickly became PlayStation. It's like, even if they were playing Nintendo games, it's like, we're going to go and play on PlayStation. It was just like, actually, I'm just going to play a video game.
And the music was a big thing for me. I think you could sometimes play your own. You could play your own CD as the soundtrack of a game. You could kind of put the CD in first and put the game in after, or whatever, and that was just something really novel. I could listen to an Oasis album while I was playing a football game.
But it's true, like, they experimented so much with games like Parappa the Rapper and Rib Rib and all these kind of like far out there games, like Beat Generation games, all that kind of stuff. Was PlayStation was completely different proposition from what was around at the time. So what about yours?
My youthful memory.
You can't actually remember anything.
No, I can't.
Like, you were 5, Luke.
Suckling from your mama's teat.
Well, I had a Mega Drive originally. I had a Mega Drive originally.
That's for the Mega Drive Memories episode of the podcast,
which is never coming, unfortunately. But no, and I played Tekken. Tekken was the first game I played, and at my cousin's house, and I was like, "Oh, this is amazing!" And they told me, there was a new Tekken coming out, Tekken 2, and so I decided this is, I need this. I was probably a bit older then, maybe I was about 6 or 7. But that was my first game, Tekken 2. I used to spend hours playing that with my dad. I also got worms. Spent hours.
You got worms?
I had worms. Took me to the doctors, got me a pill, it was fine.
That's a Dumb and Dumber joke.
Yeah. So I
got worms.
So we did that. So worms and Tekken 2 were kind of my
not a good combination.
I know. But like it's just amazing. So Crash, I'm going to come to the defense of Crash. I thought Crash was amazing back in the day.
Well, it was fun.
Maybe,
it was fun to play.
But again, with somebody telling me with all seriousness that PlayStation's going to have somebody to rival Mario. Like, they are big words.
I think for me, it come from the fact that I'd come from the Mega Drive, which was obviously 2D Sonic and all of that, and the Game Boy, which was 2D Mario, and suddenly there were these 3D worlds, and it was a 3D.
Blew your tiny mind.
It literally did, because I was still coping with the real 3D world. And I still am. I'm still not quite there.
So this all happened when you were 5?
No,
this is amazing.
This is all kind of this is PS.
A gaming prodigy.
Yeah, and then Spyro. I loved Spyro as well.
God, you had some terrible taste in games.
I still love it. When I interviewed Ted Price,
there's me talking about Metal Gear, like classics of our time.
These are the ones. Ted Price, when I interviewed Ted Price of Insomniac the other day about Sunset Overdrive, at the end I was just like, look, please stop what you're doing. You're wasting your life. Get back and make another Spyro. He said, think about it. And then
it's like, get this loser out of here.
But I do remember also buying my first memory card and being bewitched that I could suddenly save my progress.
Yeah, but at the same time, I remember I had probably about 15 of those memory cards.
Yeah, you can never remember what's on which one. That was and you had to try and write it on in like the tiny little slot at the bottom. And you're like, oh, this is ball-ache. And then the only other one that I remember going to Scotland to visit some family friends, and they were playing Final Fantasy 9 at the time, and that was my first encounter with the Final Fantasy series. Yeah,
so not Final Fantasy 7?
No. So I started with 9, I went back and played 9, and I tried 7, and 7 just doesn't click with me. After playing 9, it's very, very difficult. It was very difficult for me to go back.
Did you play 9?
I finished 9.
I thought so.
Did I tell you I played 9?
So the other thing that I loved about it is it was the closest, I guess, to having an arcade machine in your room, because you had obviously Ridge Racer, Tekken, as you say, but even Time Crisis, which you had the little kind of Dayglow Guncon, which was amazing.
But no Duck Hunt.
No Duck Hunt.
Duck Hunt. I do remember being annoyed that certain games that were kind of ported over from computer games weren't as good when they moved to PlayStation. Games that I loved, like Speedball 2 or Lemmings. There were just some games that I really loved, and they just didn't make.
It's true, because
is a good one.
Like Doom. I remember playing Doom, but also I played Doom on like 2 PlayStations hooked up. Me and my mate had it in our front room, and like old little tellies, 14-inch Sony tellies, and that, and it was amazing.
Yeah.
But it didn't feel quite the same.
Command and Conquer as well was when I did Command and Conquer Red Alert, when that port.
Resident Evil.
Jesus Christ, that was a port that was a ball ache to control.
Yeah.
A strategy game on a PlayStation.
Yeah, because I was working, as I say, on a PlayStation mag, and we worked alongside another magazine called Maximum, which was like for the hardest of hardcore gamers, and they got like the trial version of Resident Evil before it came out.
Oh, cool.
And it was pretty much the whole game, if I remember rightly, up to where you see the giant snake. And I remember seeing that, and I was like, this game is going to change the world.
And it did.
Didn't change the world, it was just quite good. But yeah. So
I'm sure we'll have some readers with memories.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully. Do you mean PlayStation memories?
Yeah.
Or just, yeah, you should definitely let us know your PlayStation memories. IGN_UK feedback at IGN.com. And we will talk about them on next week's show.
Indeed.